Hi, it's James. Welcome back to the channel, Squeeze Fan TV. Today I'm going to be talking about the first time I ever saw Squeeze live. I'll show you this record. This is the live record they put out back in 1990, around and about. Now, I didn't see them on this tour. I saw them on, I think, the tour immediately before this one. I think this was from, January 1990. And I'd seen them in October of 1989, and that was on the Frank tour. So Frank had just come out, I think the previous summer, maybe 89. At the time, I was subscribing to the Squeeze Chronicle. Those of us who are a bit long in the tooth will remember that. It was a sort of Squeeze fanzine. And I can remember reading, it was a few weeks before I was due to go to Lancaster University as a fresher, reading in that they were going to be playing there, and it was going to be at the end of my second week as a fresher. And I just couldn't believe it. It was so exciting. I'd never seen them before, been a fan of theirs for years. And it was just great timing, absolutely fantastic. So I went along. It was the Great Hall in Lancaster, which used to be a very historic venue. Loads of bands played there over the years. You know, Wings played there with Paul McCartney. Yeah, U2, all kinds of people. Queen in the early 70s. I've got a feeling, though, that Squeeze were the last famous band to play there. I don't recall any other bands after that. Not quite sure what happened. It's quite a small venue. It's the hall that I took my final exams in a couple of years later. It's, it's basically just a kind of college hall. And it was absolutely packed to the rafters. I still don't know to this day whether the audience was mostly just students or whether there were Squeeze fans who bust themselves in. One thing I remember about it was that everybody seemed to know all the songs, even the new stuff. You know, Rose I Said went down an absolute storm. There were people jumping up and down. But it was very exciting. I remember about half an hour before the gig started, I was standing in the Great Hall, just kind of waiting for them to come on, or perhaps even before that. It was while people were still coming into the hall, I think. And Gilson suddenly just walked past me. Really strange. I don't know what he was doing in the hall. He had a bit of a baleful expression on his face. He just seemed to, I don't know, he didn't look very happy. He had the same expression on his face in my memory as he has on the cover of East Side Story, just that kind of blank look. He just walked past me and I thought, God, that was Gilson Lay, this, absolutely amazing. Anyway, they came on. And a couple of things strike me in retrospect. This was the period when Jules Holland was sort of on his way out of the band, really. He was trying to hold down too many careers at once. He was still doing the Tube at the time. He hadn't been on the back cover of Frank, famously. On the back cover of Frank, you've got this inscription here, Julian was on a holiday, on the snaps there. And he was sort of partly absenting himself already, I think, but he looked so tired. I remember he walked on looking he was ashen, really tired. And there was just at one point during the show, he was playing the piano with one hand and leaning his arm on the piano with the other. He really did look very tired and not particularly happy. Different and Tilbrook were also not looking happy, I don't think. This was during the fallout from the awful row they'd had during the making of the Footprints video, I think, from the previous album. I know they went on record later as saying after that row, they didn't talk to each other for a long time. And you could sort of still see that, they didn't make eye contact with each other all night. They both looked quite miserable, I thought. And back then it was different. The stage, how they actually stood on stage was different. Nowadays you've got Tilbrook in the middle, you've got Chris over on the left, and, the other guys on the right. Back in those days, and for years and years, in fact, all the way back through, into the sort of early 80s, even before then, I think, you'd have Glenn on the left, Chris in the middle, and then the bass player on the right-hand side. So in this case, it was Keith Wilkinson. So that's how it would go: Glenn, Chris, Keith. So even though Glenn and Chris were standing next to each other all night, they never once looked at each other. And I don't remember either of them being very smiley either. They both seemed quite impassive. Having said that, musically, it was a great show. Gilson was on fire, really, belting it out, really high energy. And they just drove the audience nuts. I can remember everybody just jumping up and down, and it was loud, it was exciting. I mean, Squeeze are still great nowadays, but you know they're kind of older now. You know, they play a bit more kind of like elder statesmen. But back then, amazingly, they were probably only still in their mid-30s, late 30s, and they were still definitely, they had it still, you know. It was definitely a very exciting show. Yeah, it is interesting to look back now and just think about where they were in their career at the time. They were just about to lose their A&M deal, and things were not going great for them at all. They were back on the university circuit, and the previous year they'd been headlining Madison Square Garden again. So it was definitely an interesting time for them. The last show I ever saw, I think, oh no, I saw Gilson again. I saw Gilson on the Play Tour the following year, or the year after, I think. But Jules had gone by then, so things were definitely in flux. But anyway, it was just an amazing experience to see them. You know, I was 18 at the time, and they've been my favourite band ever since, ever since 1979. It was just so great to see them. So anyway, thought I would share my experience of that. So let me know, what was your first ever Squeeze gig? I'd love to hear about that. Do leave a comment down below and share your memories, and please like the video and subscribe, and I hope to see you all soon. Take care. Bye for now.